Ladies and gentlemen, if you'd like to start taking your seats now, we'll be looking to start in about 2 minutes' time. Thank you. As the music fades, I'll just let the stragglers, most of them our own staff, sit themselves down, get themselves ready. Deputy Lord Lieutenant, High Sheriff, Madam Mayor, Mr Chairman, Councillors, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Chief Fire Officer of Hampshire and the Isle of Wight, Mr Dave Curry, it is my absolute pleasure to welcome you all to hear the HFRS Hampshire Fire and Rescue Service Academy for the graduation of Trainees Course T1 2017. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce our Chief Officer, Mr Dave Curry, to the stage, who will give his opening address. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr Dave Curry.
Thank you, Dan. Dan is famous in Hampshire Fire and Rescue Service for his emceeing of these sorts of events, so thank you to Dan first of all. May I open by saying a very, very warm Hampshire Fire and Rescue Service welcome to yourselves. We pride ourselves on a culture which welcomes people into our organisation. I hope the trainees have felt that over the last 16 weeks, and we welcome you today here. I particularly, as Dan has already mentioned, like to welcome the Deputy Lord Lieutenant, Brigadier David Harrison. Thank you for joining us. The High Sheriff of Hampshire, Lady Mary Montague Scott, and also the Mayor of Eastleigh, Maureen Sollett. So your presence here is very welcomed. It makes a special occasion very special, and we're very privileged. I know how busy your diaries are. We're also privileged, I think, to be joined by the Chairman, Chris Carter, of the Hampshire Fire and Rescue Authority, and also many members of our Fire Authority. Our Fire Authority govern the fire service in Hampshire, and again, we're very pleased that they're able to join us this morning for this very special occasion. As the Chief Fire Officer of Hampshire Fire and Rescue Service, I'm extremely proud to open this particular trainee graduation after 8 years where we have not seen members of the public join our service. And I think it's a really poignant moment in Hampshire Fire and Rescue Service's history where we start to see a new generation of firefighters joining our frontline service. And it makes me very proud as the Chief Fire Officer to see that starting to happen again. And this will be a process that will now happen year on year throughout our service. And we're seeing it as well across the country. What's important is that we introduce new characters, and I'm sure amongst the trainees and the instructors you have seen characters grow over the last 16 weeks. We bring in new ideas. An organisation, a service that's progressive like ours needs new ideas, new thinking, and these 27 trainees bring new ideas to us. And also new leadership. And we will see new leadership from them, both as firefighters, but for some who actually travel a career through the service. As Andy Bowers said in a conversation just previously, maybe one of the 27 will actually making this speech at some point in the future. So we might see a Chief Fire Officer, and I hope you do, from those 27 that are joining us. And maybe we can spot one or two through the morning's events. It's interesting to note that last September or so, we opened our website for applications for 48 hours. We had to shut the website at that point, and after 48 hours, we had 1,000 applicants. And the outcome of that shows the popularity of joining a service like ours, but the 27 and the 16 that come from the public, how much they've had to work from that first application right through to be here today. So a journey for them already in their careers, and my congratulations to that success from getting from those 1,000 or more people in our public that wanted to be here today, that you have been successful in doing so. I'd also like to welcome the families. The families play a really important part in a firefighter's life. I think you probably already have noted that and have felt that in the last 16 weeks. And sorry to say, but you've now got a 30 or 40 year career to support. And I think we should always pay thanks to the families of people that serve our communities. And I'm pleased that you can join us today, and I'm pleased that you can celebrate with your family members in their success in this graduate presentation. I'd like to also thank and put on record really my thanks to Ty, who is the head of this academy, and his team of instructors and staff that have not only put on this 16 weeks worth of training and program, but have had to invent it. Because make it very clear that 8 years ago, the role that we employed to as a firefighter is completely different. And through the demonstrations that we'll see this morning, and through the conversations that you'll have, and through the program, you'll see the role has drastically changed in 8 years. So Ty and his team in this new academy had to invent something entirely new. And we are at the forefront across the nation of training firefighters in a completely different role. And again, I'm hugely proud of the work they've done, and I know other fire services are looking at the program that we've produced to replicate it in their services. Remember, to the trainees, you are joining Team Hampshire. We're very proud of that statement. We see ourselves as a team. We look after 1.7 million people in Hampshire, and we do a great job at it. And I'm very proud that you're going to be joining Team Hampshire. What's important to me is that you shape that team. And as I met with you 16 weeks ago, I said to you and I say to you now, take your characters, take your ideas and shape Team Hampshire. Be part of it, enjoy it, and make sure you shape it for the future. You're not starting a job, you're starting in a profession. And that is a very, very big and different thing. It's something to be proud of, but it comes with some responsibilities. You are serving the public in the uniform of a great team, and therefore the standards by which you present today, and we'll see your skills, I'm sure, in a moment, the way you conduct yourselves in your lives, you now need to remember that you are a part of a profession and a professional team in Hampshire Fire and Rescue Service. And remember, Hampshire Fire and Rescue Service is one of, if not the, best fire and rescue services in this country. And I talk to chief officers, I have through this week across the country, and they know that, and they might say it of their own services, but I say it with some depth in my heart. And UK fire services are the best fire services in the world, without question. You go across to any part of the world, they will always look to UK fire services. So I can proudly say that I'm in charge of one of the best fire and rescue services in the world, and you new trainees are joining that service and should be equally as proud as I am. Firefighting is a tough job. It comes with risks. I think you already know that, and recent tragic events around the country have demonstrated the bravery of firefighters in difficult situations. We move towards risk when others move away. We protect the public from that risk. What protects us is good training, good equipment, and professional skills. And I'm hoping to see and demonstrate in a moment, no pressure, that you have in the last 16 weeks developed and are equipped with some of the best equipment in the country, and now are trained to keep yourselves safe and to keep the public safe. If I may, I'd like to give you 3 tips. Shape your career. Some of you will decide in your career to be a firefighter. Be professional firefighters, be proud of it, and there is no disgrace in 30 or 40 years' time that you are a professional firefighter. Some of you will decide to develop professions within the profession itself and extra skills, and that's really great. Some of you will seek promotion and leadership. Whatever you decide to take, shape it. Be in charge of your career. It isn't the responsibility of somebody else, it's responsibility of yourself. So take charge, you've got a great opportunity into the future. Design it and make it happen in the way that you want it. It is your opportunity. Always bring yourselves to work. We are very proud in creating teams where people feel comfortable to be absolutely themselves. And if you're ever in a situation where you don't feel you can be yourself completely at work, then we're not achieving our aspiration to release the full potential within you. So always come to work each day, join your team, and be yourself and give of yourself as best as you possibly can. And finally, and most importantly, through your careers, be very proud to serve. It is a privilege to serve the public as we do. You have that opportunity now and always, in the darkest moments or the most entertaining moments, and you'll have that full spectrum. Always be proud to serve in Hampshire Fire and Rescue Service. I look forward to seeing the outcomes of all the good work over the last 16 weeks in the practical exercises that we will now see. But before we do so, I understand that we're going to see a short video clip and hear from some of you, which I think is just so important, about your journey as trainees over the last 16 weeks. Thank you very much.
Been interested in being a firefighter for quite a few years actually. I did serve in the Royal Navy where I did a bit of firefighting.
There's a lot of stages you had to go through, and I think as you passed each stage, I just felt the excitement building and building and building.
Sort of quite a competitive process. I think there was some sort of 800, 900 people applied for just 16 places. The phone call came through and I instantly just thought it was sort of bad news, you know, sort of thanks but no thanks. And you know, when the person on the other end said, you know, really pleased to tell you got through, I was kind of a little bit taken aback. I think I had to ask her to repeat herself.
Turning up on the first day with all of our sort of brand new shiny fire kit.
Everyone was looking at each other, wide eyes. Hello, you know.
Breathing apparatus, Mod B, definitely, I think, one of the toughest things I've ever done.
The instructors would put a load of fire loading in the back of the container, set light to it, and then we would come in with our hose in twos and go in and put it out from a distance. Yeah, it was really exciting. So it was hot.
You kind of just think to yourself, what am I doing? Like, and then you start to remember the things that you'd learned, they begin to kick into place.
Even though you're knackered, you're just such a big grin on your face. It's just a fantastic feeling.
And there are moments where you look at yourself and you go, am I cut out for this? Am I the right person for this? But it's that feeling of overcoming that and beating those odds and actually knowing that you are the right person for the job that makes it so special. Family and friends, some of them are shocked, some of them are proud.
Now having got through it, and even though they don't quite sort of get some of the sides of it, partly because I don't tell them, they've been sort of really involved as part of it.
You're going to turn up each day and you don't know what's coming. Every day is going to be different.
If you go right back to the start and you say, you know what, in 16 weeks, you're going to be doing this, 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 this and this, and you will be doing it fantastically, you turn around and go, no, you won't. There is no way you'd be able to do that.
And then probably that first shout, whatever that is, I have absolutely no idea what that will be. It'll be a case of, oh my gosh, it's real now, so.
And we'll go out there and serve our communities, hopefully make a big difference.
I think some people have just got that sort of desire to want to help.
When we do get out there and it is a real incident and there are people's lives in danger, we know we're just going to be able to flick that switch and sort of dive straight into it and do what needs to be done.
You're going out there and potentially saving someone's life. I mean, I don't think there's a bigger gift than that.
Thank you. So that's just a snapshot of some of the things that your nearest and dearest have been doing over the last 16 weeks. The look on some of your faces, clearly, perhaps they didn't tell you all of that, but what they're going to do now is showcase some of that for you out on the drill yard. So in a minute, miraculously, those doors, that entire wall is going to disappear, and then I'll usher you outside under the drill yard, under the washdown, and then we'll go through some practical drills. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, don't be shy. Someone's got to go to the front. Might as well be you. Brilliant, like that. You'll get the best photograph opportunity anyway. What's your name, young man? Alex. I need you to hold my radio, Alex. Radio, you just nod at me. You just nod at me, can't you? Okay, Alex, is it? Say Alex. And what's your name there? What's your name? Say again. Sebastian. I've got a special question for you in a minute, and I know you'll get it right, because looking at your t-shirt, you're a big fan of the fire service, aren't you? Look at that. That's what's it say on the back? What does it say on the back? Can I have a look? What does that say? Stay back 200 feet? Crikey. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Dan Tasker. I'm one of the Chief Officers, Area Managers. I'm going to attempt to talk you through some of the plethora of drills you're going to see in front of you here. Sebastian, I said I was going to ask you a question. Can you tell me the number you would dial if there was an emergency? What's the number?
2.
2, nearly. It starts with 9.
Number 9.
Number 9, followed by another 9, and then one more.
No, one more 9.
Well done. So big round of applause for Sebastian. That's it, 999. So if you call 999 because you've had a fire, obviously what the first thing that will happen is it will go to a central control centre. It will then be sent to our command and control centre, which is just to your left up there. They will process the call and they will dispatch the most appropriate resource. In this case, the fire that we've got, you can see, is on the 3rd floor. So we've got a lot of smoke exiting the 3rd floor. So for this type of incident, our control room have dispatched 4 appliances. The reason why they would dispatch 4 appliances is because we only have a maximum of 6 people per appliance. So in order to have enough people to deal with this type of incident, which is a significantly large incident, we would need a large number of people. So in this case, we dispatched 4 pumps. Look at that 3D technology. We've even made the smell of smoke for you as well. So the first thing they've done there, you can see the officer in charge. That's the person with the tabard on and the white helmet. They will do a risk assessment, and the first thing they will do is we have a methodology called SAVE, S-A-V-E. The first thing we will do is scan. So they will get a thermal image camera and they will scan to try and find out whereabouts in the building the fire is. Just because the smoke is exiting the front window doesn't mean that's where the fire is. The fire could be well deep-seated into the building. So they will scan, that's S. Next thing they will do is attack. Attack means to physically do something to interfere with that fire in order to settle that fire down, or if possible, put that fire out. Attack could be a number of things. Ideally, that should be an attack from outside the building. So you can see a jet going into the window there. But also we've got numerous other ways of attack, which we'll show you a bit more about in a minute when we go to our Cobra Lances. Now, in order to attack and to find out where the seat of the fire is, they need to access the building. So what they will do is they will pitch a ladder, in this case the 135. That's a 13.5 metre ladder. And they will pitch it into the window of the 3rd floor. You'll notice they all work together as a team. That's because that ladder weighs about 100 kilograms. Very, very heavy ladder. You get it wrong, and you get it wrong big style. So if that ladder was to fall down, it would do somebody or something a lot of damage. So they work together. They shout their commands because they're in a drill yard environment, and it's very loud. And then they get what we call get the ladder to work. We pitch the ladder. That ladder now is very stable, so we'll be able to get people into the building. You'll also notice behind our aerial ladder platform, that's the big extendable ladder you can see going up at the back there. That has a capability of about 32 metres, that's just over 100 feet. That gives us a lot of aerial attack on the fire, but as well as an aerial attack, it also gives us an observation platform. It also gives us another form of safety for the firefighters, because if we need to, we can get it into the window quickly and we can evacuate those firefighters and people, if necessary, out of the building. It also has an enormous water capacity, so we can actually fire water up through the cage of the ALP into the fire itself if we need to. It also has thermal imaging capabilities and camera capabilities that it can beam down, back down to the control unit and the command unit, so we can actually see what's going on with the fire. Right in front of us now, you can see a crew of 3. They're getting dressed in what we call BA, breathing apparatus. They would have trained extensively on the use of breathing apparatus, because that is by far one of our most dangerous activities as a firefighter. Because at that point, you are now going to go into the building. As soon as you go into the building, it's smoky, it's dark, there's fire, there's all sorts of hazards inside the building. So therefore, this part has to be absolutely right. So once again, they work really, really well as a team, but it's also strictly controlled. So if you see the guy there with the yellow and black checkered tabard, just putting an armband on his left arm, that person is what we call the BA entry control officer. So basically, they are now in charge of those BA wearers. So the moment they leave that board, they take a key out and they give it to that entry control officer. That entry control officer will then slot that with their name and all their pressures onto the board, and they will monitor their progress through the building. They will be in contact with them all the time. If they lose contact with them, or for any reason they've got any concerns, they will either sound an evacuation signal or we will send people in there to bring them out. Really, really risk-critical piece of work. That's why they train. Out of all the 16 weeks that they do here, 2 weeks solid is on what they call Module B, which is their breathing apparatus. So you can see now, if we follow our mnemonic, our methodology, so SAVE, so we've done the scan, they know where the fire is, they're now doing the attack. So they've done an external attack. What they're also doing is they're going to put some breathing apparatus into the building to try and do a further attack on the fire itself. V stands for ventilation, so they will vent the building. Now we can either vent the building naturally, and buildings tend to do that, so smoke finds its way out because it's pressurised, or we can force ventilation using fans, and we'll show you a bit more about that in just a moment. E is probably the most important part. E is extinguish the fire, because at some point we need to put that fire out. We couldn't walk away from it now because we'd be back in no time at all. That's quite career defining if we do things like that, so we try not to. We try to make sure they're out and we never have to return. That's not to say there's lots of work that we do afterwards. We do a lot of work around community safety, making sure basically that people have learnt from what's happened and that, you know, we don't make those same mistakes again. So you can see very quickly into the incident now. We're about 5 minutes into the incident. They've got a really good attack on the fire. They've now got BA wearers entering the building via the external ladders. The aerial ladder platform is poised as another form of escape should we require it. And the officer in charge now is responsible for what we call fireground management. So they will walk around the fireground, they will look from a safety perspective, a command perspective, and they will make sure everything's done as it should be. You've probably noticed as well, the sharp-eyed amongst you, that we also have our other key emergency services that have turned up. We don't deal with these incidents in isolation. You probably noticed from the tragic events at Grenfell, the 3 blue light services were working constantly together. That's what we do. We train together on a daily basis. We have a mantra known as JESSUP, which is a joint interoperability program, which means that we now work much closer with all of our partner blue light services, more so than we've ever done before. So when we attend an incident like this, the police will be in attendance, and also the ambulance will be in attendance as well. Because obviously, if we're unlucky enough to find someone in that building, then obviously they need immediate medical care when they come out. The two breathing apparatus wearers you can see in front of us now, they're there for two purposes really. One, we would have crews there as relief crews, because as they said on the video, incredibly hard work inside there. Temperatures will be very, very high. Temperatures can be well up around 800 degrees. Very, very challenging conditions. Those sets will only last for about half an hour. So once that work's been done and they need to come out, we need a crew that are ready to go in behind them. Otherwise, we're robbing Peter to pay Paul. They're also there by means of what we call an emergency team. So if anything goes wrong and those wearers become in distress or need to be removed, that emergency team will be briefed, stood by, ready to go in there and extract that team at lightning fast. So just while they're dealing with the flames, we will move over in a second, and I'll explain when we do. I'll need you to use your imagination a little bit in a moment. So just to pre-warn you, when we're actually putting water on the fire, those branches that you can see operating, which are basically the nozzles that go on the end of our hose, they will give water onto the fire at about 500, depending on what branch it is, about 500 litres of water every single minute going onto the fire. Now, that is great, and that's one of the best ways to extinguish a fire, but one of the problems with that is that we get a lot of water runoff. So we get an enormous amount of water that makes its way back down to ground level, which is also contaminated. So we also have a responsibility as fire officers to look after the environment. Believe it or not, we don't get any dispensation. As an emergency service, we still have to think about the environment, and quite rightly. So one of the things the officer in charge will be doing, even when the fire starts to get under control, is thinking about the management of that water. Where's it going? Is it going in the drains? Is it going into the groundland? Because that's contaminated water. So all of that will need to be thought about at this point. Okay, so this is where I need you to use your imagination. Obviously, you can't see inside the building, so I'm now going to move your attention over to the red box in front of you. The red box in front of you there, just to the left-hand side, we're going to imagine that is the compartment that is on fire inside the building. I said to you before, under the A, or the attack, there's lots of ways in which we can attack the fire. Ideally, our default should always be to attack the fire from the outside. We don't want to be putting firefighters inside that compartment unless we absolutely have to. Temperatures inside that compartment will be somewhere around 800 or 900 degrees centigrade. Now, for those of you that can't contextualise that, that's about 3 or 4 times hotter than you would have your oven on for your Sunday lunch to cook the old roast potatoes. You imagine when you open that door and the eyebrows go, don't they? We've all done it. Don't pretend you haven't. Basically, it's almost 3, maybe 4 times that amount of heat that they would be inside that container. Unbelievably warm. So if we don't need to put firefighters in there, we won't. We deal with it from the outside. And we've got a clever piece of new technology called a Cobra lance, or what we call high pressure, ultra high pressure lance. And you can see them operating it there. What it does is it goes up against the building and it fires a very, very small borehole into the outside of the building. That could be through brickwork, that could be through metal, that could be through steel. It puts a tiny hole through, really, really small. What it then does is it fires a jet of water at about, I think it's about 250 miles an hour through, and it instantly atomizes, makes a big cloud of misty water. What that does is that steals all the heat from the fire, and it will reduce that temperature inside from 800 degrees down to about 60 degrees in less than a minute. So straight away now, the temperature inside there, instead of being that roasting 800 degrees, it's now a very safe temperature, which means they can open the door and make their way inside. So they've deployed the Cobra unit, the ultra high pressure lance. They're now letting that take effect, start to do its magic, start to steal the heat energy from the fire. And you can see it stealing the heat energy because the smoke that's now coming out is a very, very pale colour. The reason it's a pale colour is because it's mixed with water. That's a lot of steam you can see coming out now, instead of what was before very, very thick black products of smoke and combustion. While that's happening, that is lowering the temperature all the time inside that compartment. So if there was anybody inside, it makes it a much more survivable atmosphere, but also it makes it a lot safer for the firefighters to actually enter that compartment. So the incident commander again has scanned to check with the thermal image camera. They've made an external attack. They will now ventilate, so that's the V on the SAVE methodology, so they will now ventilate. And I said to you before, there's a couple of ways we can ventilate. We can either do it naturally, using the conditions around us, or we can do it in a forced way. In this case, they're going to do it in a forced way. They're going to turn on the fans, and they're going to physically drive that smoke out of the compartment and all of those nasty products of combustion. You can see the smoke now clears really quickly, and that makes it very safe for the firefighters to enter. It also makes it a lot easier for them to do their searching because it's a much, much clearer environment. They can see where they're going ultimately. They will now enter, still with firefighting medium, so they'll still take a hose reel and they'll make their way through, find the seat of the fire, and then they can physically put that fire out. And I think that deserves a round of applause. And that just shows how all the time research and development is developing new, much more modern ways of firefighting. So the old traditional, certainly when I joined 24 years ago, and my instructors, it was basically a boot up the bottom, get in there, put the fire out. Very, very punishing conditions, very, very hot. Now, because of modern technology, there's a lot more advanced ways of extinguishing those types of fires without having to put our firefighters through the sheer level of risk that they used to have to do. So what will happen now, just before I move you to the next demonstration, it's important to talk about the makeup. We have and we're not talking about ladies before you ask. We don't start putting on lipstick and Chanel No. 5 and all of that. I'm worried I don't even know what that is, but the makeup for us is about making up all of the equipment and getting it back onto the appliance as quick as we can. All of those appliances now, all 4 of those, need to be immediately ready for another incident. So as much as it's important to get all that equipment out and operating in an emergency environment, equally it's just as important to get all of that kit back on the trucks ready so that if there is another fire call, they can go. We don't have an endless number of fire engines in Hampshire. We have a lot, thankfully, but we don't have an endless supply. So if we had an incident like this in the middle of the city, straight away we take 4 pumps out of the city. We want those 4 pumps immediately ready to go as soon as we can so that we've got pumps to support should we need them. So you'll see again, they'll work as a team and you'll notice they're as busy, as quick and as coordinated as they were when they first got everything to work. Lots of shouting, lots of commands. They're not being rude to each other. They don't take offence. The reason we shout is because out there it's so loud. If you don't shout, you don't get heard. We have a bit of a triaging system when we make stuff up as well. So the most important thing to make up is the things that we've only got one of. So the first things that start to go back on the appliance are things like ladders, because we've only got one of them. So they will prioritise that. As soon as everyone's out the building, you'll hear ladder crew. Everybody will stop what they're doing. They'll go straight to the ladders and get them put away. Other things that need to be put away, breathing apparatus sets, entry control boards, because we only have one of those on the appliance. Hose, lots of those on the appliance, so that can wait till last. So if they've done it right, we should see the last thing should be the hoses being rolled up and put back on the trucks. So there was the order for ladder crew. So straight away, you stop what you're doing, you get 4 on the ladder, you start to make it up. like we said before, that ladder weighs about 100 kilograms. That's extremely heavy. So that's why it has to be done in such a controlled way. Some people kind of look and think, well, that's a bit over the top. It's not. If that goes wrong, it really does go wrong in a bad way. So somebody, number one of the crew, will take charge and give the orders to make sure everything's done at the right time and in the right way. There's the first ladder just made up there. They'll now go and put that back on the appliance. Meanwhile, the second ladder is just being brought out away from the building and what we call underrun. This is the bit that really tests your forearm strength, especially when you've done it about 20 times. Ladies and gentlemen, just before I take you on to the next drill then, big round of applause for the fire drill. Okay, if everybody wants to just take a left turn, move yourselves forward slightly. I'm now going to talk you through another key piece of work that we do in the fire and rescue service. So, I'll just wait for the team to sort themselves out. You're fine there, mate. Okay, so one of the bits of kit that we have, very, very good bit of kit, is called rope pack. The rope pack is designed for rescues from height. So we do get a lot of those, especially in, if you think about some of the areas that we have. We have a large dockland area within Southampton, lots of tower cranes, lots of straddle cranes. Very often have emergencies on those cranes that require extrication of a casualty from height. So what we've got here, the scenario in front of us, is we've got a casualty up on the first platform there. So probably talking about 20, 25 foot up. That, if that casualty is in a bad way, they've got some form of neck injury, spinal injury, perhaps pelvic injuries, the last thing we can do is walk them down, or even worse, carry them down a ladder. You've probably all heard and probably expected to see a carry down, the good old firefighters lift. Believe me, that's the last thing that we try and do. One, because it's a very, very dangerous manoeuvre for both the firefighter and for the individual being carried. But also, it's not a particularly good way from a trauma perspective to carry a human body. Best way to carry a human body is in a nice straight line. And that's why rope pack allows us to do that. So what you can see happening here is the officer in charge again, white helmet with the tabard. Really important there, clearly denoted that they're the officer in charge, because they're the person that's going to make the decisions, look after safety and ultimately command the fireground. What they've decided to do is send up a couple of rope pack operators. So the first thing that will happen is the firefighter there, for their own safety, are climbing up the vertical ladder with a fall arrest system, which are basically like scaffold hooks. So as they climb, they will hook the scaffold hooks on, and what that does is if they were unlucky enough to fall, or some would say stupid enough to fall, then obviously that fall arrest device will catch them and will stop them tumbling down to ground. So that person's now made their way to the first floor, the platform. Meanwhile, you'll notice that they're already starting to get the stretcher in place. Remember I talked about teamwork? And I will always say again and again, that's a big thing that we try and push here at the training, at the academy, is around teamwork. From the moment you come here to the moment you leave, right the way through your career, teamwork is absolutely critical to the work that we do. We don't finish one job before we start another. It's simultaneous activity. All these things happen at once to make sure that we do it as quickly and as safely as possible. So the stretcher is on its way up now. And what will happen now is the two firefighters will bring that stretcher in and will then, in a very controlled way, will then place that casualty onto that scoop stretcher. Without boring you too much on the details, you'll notice the firefighter that that is just stood on the railing there, what he's doing is he's providing what we call a high deviation point. So he's providing a pulley system so that when they connect that stretcher, rather than have to manhandle it over the edge where you risk dropping or tipping the casualty, what they do is they create a high deviation point. So it's enabled to actually winch up, to lift up the stretcher, take it out in a controlled manner over the ledge, and then very, very in a controlled way lower it back down to ground. And I'm hoping that's exactly what you're going to see.
Getting a bit croaky, mate.
Thank you, mate. So the team at the top there, they'll be dealing with the casualty. They'll also be rendering what we call immediate emergency care. All of our firefighters are trained in what we call IEC, which means that they've got advanced life-saving skills to render all sorts of life-saving intervention. Final checks will be made now of all of the lowering system, so they'll start to do all of the last-minute safety checks. Obviously, yes, we have a keenness to get that casualty down to ground, but at the same time, the last thing we want to do is get it wrong at the most crucial point. So they will do the final checks before they start to actually extricate the casualty. The ultimate decision for that will lie with the number one, the officer in charge, who's still down here at ground assessing everything that's going on. So he'll be in contact with the teams up on the platform and the teams down at ground level here. Once he's happy or she's happy that everything is in place, then they'll give the command to lower the casualty. Okay, Ian, can I just borrow you in for 2 secs? This is our officer in charge, Ian Carpenter. You can give him a round of applause, he doesn't get embarrassed. Thank you. Ian, I just want you to talk through what the plan is and then what you've done and then how you're going to bring that casualty out.
What we've done is set up a system with 2 anchors, a safety system and a lowering primary system. And the casualty is getting put into the basket up there with a high deviation. And once he's secured into that, we will raise the casualty up slightly, take any slack in the rope. Over the edge they go with the stretcher and the personnel coming down with him, and they will lower him with the quadras on each of the lines there. Thank you.
Thanks, Ian, that's great. So, just to recap then, so as Ian said, high deviation point. Once he's ready, once he's happy, he's assessed it, they will lift up that stretcher, take it out in a very, very controlled way, and then bring it down to ground. The casualty is going to come out with the stretcher. Sorry, correction, that's an obvious one. The rescuer will come out with the casualty. So what will happen now is the rescuer will come out with the stretcher. That way they can monitor them all the way down to ground. But also, if the casualty is conscious, the last thing they want to be doing is swinging in the air and not knowing what's going on. So the rescuer can talk to the casualty all the way down. You'll notice the lines at the bottom here, they're designed to pull the rescuer and the casualty away from the building. It would be extremely embarrassing if you knocked that casualty into the building all the way down to ground. So for obvious reasons, we need to keep them away from the hazards against the building. Okay, so the order slack was given there. Slack is the order that means basically let that line pay out. And as that rope pays out, it's really important that the rescuer puts themselves between the casualty and the building. Because as you saw right at the start there, sometimes when you're going out of the building, it's quite tricky to negotiate. So that individual now will be able to keep that casualty away from any hazards, push themselves away from the building if they need to, which is exactly what he did there. And we now have the casualty down at ground. So ladies and gentlemen, again, if you would please, big round of applause for our rope pack team. And again, I'm going to move you round again now, so if you want to just turn yourselves around. Okay, this is the final one of our drills that we're going to show you. Again, it's probably one of the most common types of incident that we go to in the fire service. This is what we call a road traffic collision, or RTC for short. Again, this is a multi-agency incident, so you would expect to see all three of the blue light services here. So we would see police, ambulance and fire at these type of incidents. As I said right before, we get a lot of RTCs within the county of Hampshire. We've got some very, very busy roads. We've got some very, very tricky road networks. And for that reason, unfortunately, we do get a larger number than we would like of these type of incidents. These type of incidents still account for the majority of accidental deaths within the county. We don't get a large number of fire deaths, so we're very proud of that as a fire service. We've driven those numbers right down. We have a large community safety department that do great work every year to drive those numbers down. Unfortunately, we still do get more fatalities in car accidents than we would ever wish or like to see. For that reason, we do a lot of work with the police and our blue light partners to try and increase road risk reduction as much as we can. So let me just explain what's going on then. So again, you've got two crews that have turned up here, two pumps, because we've got what we call an RTC trapped. Basically what that means is that we have people that are trapped inside one of the vehicles. You can also see that a cyclist has been hit. Now, although that cyclist isn't trapped, they do need emergency medical care. And as I said earlier on, we have firefighters now that are trained in advanced medical care. So what they can do is very, very quickly they can start to render emergency assistance to that individual. They are trained in basic life support. They can also administer oxygen, Entonox. They can monitor vital signs, and they are also trained in defibrillation as well. So until the ambulance arrives, they can start to make a very positive difference to the state of that casualty. Now, the first thing you're going to see with our crews is they will start to make the vehicles safe. By making the vehicles safe, they will make sure that there's no way that an airbag can accidentally deploy, because obviously that's a hazard to our firefighters. They will also stabilise the vehicle, what we call initial stabilisation. So you can see they've started to put wedges in there to stop that vehicle from moving. What they'll then do is secondary stabilisation, so they'll go around the other side of the car that's on its side, and they will start to put what we call stab fast, which is almost like a big bar that stops that car from toppling over. Last thing we want as we start to cut that car and move that car about is for it to be moving around. Because if that car's moving around, that casualty inside is moving around, and we risk the chance of making their injuries even worse. We'll always have somebody with the casualty, so straight away, either our crews or the ambulance crews will be in that car starting to render emergency assistance to that casualty inside, and also reassuring them that help is there and they'll be out that vehicle very, very soon. And you can see that now. Now they've stabilised, the ambulance crews are starting to make their way in through the back of the vehicle in order to access the casualty. That's because our paramedics now are so well trained that our paramedics can start to do real life-saving intervention even when they're still in the car. You can hear some noise now. That's the generator started up of our cutters and our spreaders, what we call our heavy rescue gear. So the spreaders and cutters, and some of you may have seen them at our open days and various events, but the spreaders and cutters, they are designed in order to effectively take that car to bits around the casualty. We call it a casualty-centred rescue. The last thing we want to do is be hoiking the casualty about. What we need to do is cut the car away from the casualty, and that's what they're going to do. And in a minute, I'll go over to Jack Williams, who is the incident commander, and I'll ask him what his plan is. So the crews at the moment will be, as part of making the car safe, they will at the moment start to take out all the glass. They will start to strip the seals of the car to check for airbags and SRS deployment devices. And they'll make sure there's no hidden hazards in that car for when they start to take that roof off. The reason we have to do that now is because cars are so well designed, they've got all these wonderful safety systems to protect you in an accident. But as well as protecting you in an accident, if they haven't deployed, they can cause us a hazard when we're cutting into the vehicle. You'll also probably notice they're all wearing their goggles down and they've all got dust masks on. That's because as they start to cut through this vehicle, you get all sorts of shards of glass, you get powder glass, and you get fragments that come off of the vehicle, which can obviously go into eyes, noses, mouths, would not be good. So health and safety being as it is, we have to make sure the firefighters are looked after as well. So they will wear respiratory and also eye protection. Okay, Jack. Big round of applause for Jack, please, people. Okay, Jack, you're the incident commander. What I'm going to ask you to do, if you will, is just give us a bit of an overview of what's happened, and then if you could talk us through your plan for getting the casualty out, that'd be great.
Yeah, thank you, Dan. In this particular case, obviously we're going to protect the scene, so we've done scene safety with the cones, signs, etc., to make sure all the firefighters, the ambulance and the police service are protected at the scene of the incident. I've done my initial recce, looking at the risks of the incident and working out a plan. That will depend on the position of the car. In this particular case, the car is on its side. In this case, we will be doing what's called a roof fold down. So the various cuts are being made, the glass is being removed, which is obviously a hazard to us. The car is fully stabilised with the blocks and an item of equipment called stab fast on the other side that you can't see. And as soon as we are ready for the cuts, the long board will be available with the paramedics on standby, ready to receive the casualty. Thank you, Dan.
Thanks, Jack. Thank you, Jack. That's absolutely brilliant. So, I better let Jack get back to it as they're quite a crucial part of the rescue. So, in short, the car has now been made safe, the stabilisation is there, and more importantly, the casualty is already receiving treatment from the paramedics inside. What will happen now, as Jack said, is they will do what's called a roof fold down. So they have made some very specific cuts across the A, B and C posts. And what they will do now is they will, in a very controlled way, fold that roof down. We don't have to think a lot about what we call these things. They will fold the roof down, and that will create immediate access that we can get in there with a stretcher and start to extract that casualty from the car. Because we've only got one ambulance here and they have to go to the more critically injured patient inside the vehicle, our firefighters will continue with the immediate emergency care of the casualty that was on the bike. So they'll be packing that casualty now, dealing with any bleeding, deal with any life-threatening emergencies. And then they will put them on a stretcher ready to be taken to hospital by an ambulance that's oncoming. That bit of kit you can see is what we call a long board. That's basically, I told you, we don't think about what we call things. It's a long board, but it's a very, very rigid board. The idea of that is that when we actually put it behind the casualty, it keeps them in an absolute straight line. So there's no way their spine can bend, twist, or go out of shape. The reason for that is obviously our spine protects the spinal cord. And the last thing we want is, if they've got any fractures to the spine itself, the last thing we want is the risk that that could then impinge upon the spinal cord. That's why we have to take absolute cautionary procedures. That's why those that know anyone that's been involved in an accident quite often they will be collared and put on a stretcher just as a precautionary measure, so that when they get to hospital they can be scanned, and then hopefully if there's no damage they can be taken back out. But we always err on the side of caution. Once again, you'll notice Jack, the incident commander there, he's always now recceing the plan just to make sure that plan is still fit for purpose. He'll be talking to the paramedics inside to make sure that we are always acting on behalf of the casualty first. Last thing we want to do is start chopping bits out of the vehicle or doing work that either we don't need to do or that isn't the right thing for the casualty. So we will take our lead very much from them. They're the absolute medical experts. They are the ones that will determine how that casualty needs to come out. The blue sheet that you can see just at the base there, that's our glass management kit. So what we don't want is glass to be strewn all over the road. So what happens is as we start to remove the glass, that protects the casualty, stops them getting covered in glass and debris, but at the same time it contains all the glass. So instead of it being all over the place and then our firefighters having to kneel in it and tread over it, it just keeps it all in a very, very secure place, and then we can just deal with that once the casualty is out. So Jack will be doing his final assessments now, just as they're packing up the casualty. And by packaging up, it doesn't mean that we're going to wrap them in cellophane and price them up. Basically what that means is they'll be putting them on the board, they'll be putting the spinal protection either side of their head, and they'll be strapping them onto that long board. That casualty is just starting to come out now. And as you'll see from the position of the longboard, the idea is that that longboard will slide down behind the casualty's back. So we won't move the casualty about, we'll move the board into position. That's minimal movement for the casualty, and then you get a really good outcome, hopefully, at the end of it. Certainly the best outcome we can for the casualty involved. All happens in a really, really controlled manner. So the paramedics, they will be controlling this process. So we've done our bit. We've removed all the obstacles from the casualty. We've made that casualty accessible. Now the paramedics will take the lead and we will act on their behalf. So we provide the muscle, we provide the lift and shift, and we do it in conjunction with the lead paramedic. And you can see she was straight in there to stop them when she felt that they were doing it perhaps not in the best way. She's just sliding the surgical collar on. And again, that's another precautionary measure just to protect the neck and the vertebrae in the neck. Obviously, very, very sensitive area. The last thing we want to do right at the end of a successful extrication is damage the casualty's neck while we're putting them on the spinal board. The good thing about the way in which the emergency services work together now is that that casualty doesn't have to, as they used to, they don't have to wait until they get to hospital to receive really, really urgent medical care. They can get that medical care now right at the roadside, which obviously improves their chances of making a full recovery by an enormous percentage. And you can see now that casualty has now been fully removed from that vehicle, has been packaged, is receiving the medical treatment they need, and they'll now be taken by our colleagues GAS off to A&E or the nearest trauma centre for some advanced medical care. Ladies and gentlemen, can I get another big round of applause, please, for Trainees Course T1 2017. As I said right at the start of this, the makeup here is really, really important. They've got a lot of crucial kit off now. So they've got cutters, spreaders, all of the kit that we only have one set of on every appliance. So again, as soon as that casualty has been dealt with, they will double away and they will start putting that equipment away. And you'll see when they do just how quickly they can do that and get ready for the next fire call. These type of incidents, as I said before, these type of incidents are not only very common in Hampshire, they're also quite traumatic, not only for the people involved, but also for the firefighters involved as well. I've been to more road traffic collisions than I care to think of, and they can be very, very harrowing for some of the staff. So we always make sure that when we've been to an incident like this, we do what we call a hot debrief. So all the firefighters will talk about it and they will discuss what they did before they leave the scene. We will also have what we call a back at station debrief. So as we get back to the station, we'll have a cup of tea and we will talk about everything that happened at the incident. And then we've got what we call a TRIM procedure, which is a trauma incident management procedure. So firefighters that have experienced any form of traumatic situation, be it one like this, be it in some other form of incident, they get immediate care afterwards within the immediate aftermath, just to make sure that they're okay and they haven't got any lingering thoughts or problems following that type of incident. So we've really moved on in all the emergency services around how we look after our firefighters, not only from a physical perspective, but also from a mental health perspective as well. So, SCAS have now taken full control of the casualty. So they're now going to take them away to the nearest trauma centre, which from here would be Southampton General Hospital. And as I said, you'll now see a lot of activity from the crews. So they will double away. They will find the equipment. They will start to make it up very, very quickly, and they'll get that stuff made away in a matter of minutes. That makes sure that our command and control centre can put them back on the run and have them immediately available for more calls. Just noticed that Alex has done a runner with my radio. So what will happen in a moment, just before we go back inside, the pumps are, once we put everything away, the pumps will parade in front of you. They will then come and park and they will line up out the front. That will give you an opportunity to come forward and to take some pictures if you wish to. Be in a picture if you like, if you want to be in a picture, don't be shy. And you'll have about 5 or 6 minutes just to do a bit of a meet and greet, say hello before the firefighters have to go away and get changed for the next part. So as soon as they're in position, if you could just wait till I call you forward, just so we make sure it's nice and safe and nobody gets hurt. So, ladies and gentlemen, as promised then, what the crews will do now for you is they will do a quick circuit. They will then come and park the trucks up, and they will line up in front of you, obviously for a big round of applause. That's the first thing. But also so that you can meet, greet, and go and have your picture taken, and take their picture if you wish. Okay then, ladies and gentlemen, so your trainees will now come in. They will make their way round. By all means, wave to them and smile at them as they go by, won't you? We are allowed to do that. It's not that formal. Don't go running out trying to catch them, though, will you? Try and jump on the back or something. We've had that before. But yeah, please do. Please give them a big round of applause as they go by. And as soon as we've got them lined up, I will give you the all clear when you can go and give them a big, sweaty hug and take some pictures. I don't think anyone told them they're allowed to wave. Sorry about that. We've just told them for 16 weeks you're not allowed to put your hands out the window of a fire engine, so please don't take any offence to that. Ladies and gentlemen, your recruits of trainee course T1 2017. I also don't think we should forget the instructors behind as well, so we have a big round of applause for them as well, please. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is your cue to go and take some pictures. Please be my guest. Ladies and gentlemen, if you could now move your way back under the washdown for me, please, just so that Watch Manager Plumley can fall the parade out for the next part of today's proceedings. Thank you. You will have more opportunities later on to take pictures, I promise. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Watch Manager Plumley will now fall the parade out, ready for the next part of today's proceedings. So over to you, Watch Manager. Well done, guys and girls. So you've now got an opportunity to grab yourselves another cuppa should you want one. Find your seats. About 10 minutes time we'll reconvene. Thank you. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, first things first, did you enjoy the presentations outside? I think, again, we'll have another round of applause. Good. Okay, the next part of the proceedings is where you get to formally meet our new recruits. So before I invite the inspection party, could you please take a look to your left-hand side for me and give a warm welcome to the trainees of course T1 2017. Okay, I would now like to formally invite the inspection party to make their way towards the start of the line, please. So accompanied by the Chief Officer, Mr. Dave Curry, and the Learning and Development Manager, Group Manager Ty Whitlock, I would also like to invite our Deputy Lord Lieutenant and also our High Sheriff of Hampshire to accompany the party. Ladies and gentlemen, the inspection party. Ladies and gentlemen, I know, and obviously it would have to be in some form of controlled order, but if you did want to move yourselves towards the chairs to take a close-up picture, by all means do. If I could just ask, obviously we don't all bundle in one hit, so if you want to, I noticed quite a few want to take some pictures. If you want to go up to sort of the chair level, by all means do, to take some of your loved ones. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your patience there. That's a real piece of fire service tradition, that. So it's lovely that both the High Sheriff and of course our Deputy Lord Lieutenant spent such amount of time talking to the candidates. We thank you for that. Okay, I'm now going to hand over to Watch Manager Plumley, who will now bring the trainees to the shun and fall them out into the appliance room. Okay, as our trainees find their seats, could I just please now invite the Chief Officer, Mr. Dave Curry, the High Sheriff, Mary Montague, and the Learning Development Manager, Ty Whitlock, to the stage, who will now present the certificates to our trainees. So I will introduce them all one at a time. They will come up, receive their certificates. Sorry, Ty. Receive their certificates, and I'll tell you a little bit about them. So, okay, Ty? So the first firefighter is Firefighter Scott Avery. Scott joined retained at Horndean Fire Station in 2014, as well as working at Tesco's and later a car garage. He's currently remaining a retained firefighter at Horndean, but is also fulfilling his lifelong ambition to become a whole-time firefighter, and Scott has now been posted to Red Watch at Southsea. Firefighter Natalie B. Before joining the service, Natalie was a structural engineer, and before that was at the University of Southampton doing a civil engineer's degree. She lives on the Isle of Wight, has done for most of her life, and has now been posted to Southsea Red Watch. Firefighter Nick Balding. Nick has been in the service for 2.5 years as a retained firefighter at Rushmore. He has 4 children and is married to his wife, Kelsey. Nick is looking towards enhancing his career and has now been based at Rushmore White Watch. Firefighter Joshua Chalice. Nick went straight from school to college and studied carpentry and joinery and worked for a number of different companies both nationwide and also in Europe. Joined retained in 2015 at Petersfield and has now been based to Southsea White Watch. Firefighter Chris Clements. Chris joined Hampshire Fire and Rescue Service in 2013, working within our own business fire safety team, initially at Winchester and then in 2014 moving to Redbridge. Prior to working for the service, Chris attended university at Southampton and worked in retail and has now been posted to Greenwatch at Cosham. Firefighter Dave Diath. Dave has 4 children and joined the service 4 years ago as a retained firefighter at Rushmore. Formerly a reinsurance manager in London, he then left to retrain as a plumber and as an engineer. He's now currently serving at Rushmore, both as whole-time and on Red Watch as a whole-time firefighter. They can stop in a minute. Firefighter Harry Cottle. Harry joined the service in 2014 as a retained firefighter at Hayling Island. He's worked as a plumbing and heating engineer for 6 years before becoming whole-time, and he's now been posted to Blue Watch at Cosham. Firefighter Benjamin Farnaby. One of the youngest recruits, Benjamin is 18 years old and has always wanted to work for the Hampshire Fire and Rescue Service as long as he can remember. He's worked in catering and market research, as well as volunteering with the fire service in the north of the county, conducting home safety visits. He's now been posted to Greenwatch Rushmore. Firefighter Callum Feltham. Callum is 25 years old and previously worked as a carriage master. He joined the fire service in 2012 at Romsey Fire Station and has now been posted to Red Watch at Andover. Firefighter Thomas Hall. Before becoming a whole-time firefighter, Tom joined Hampshire Fire and Rescue as part of the communications team in 2015, focusing on external comms and press relations. Tom has now been posted to Red Watch at Fareham. Firefighter David Hammett. After spending a year travelling in Perth, Australia in 2010, he joined a vehicle fleet graphics company, GRS, as a production assistant. During the 5 years he was there, he joined Hardley as a retained firefighter and has now been posted as a whole-time firefighter to Red Watch St Mary's. Firefighter George Hart. Prior to working for Hampshire Fire and Rescue, George travelled a fair amount and had many roles in various industries, whilst, I quote, waiting for his perfect career opportunity. George has now been posted to Cosham Blue Watch. Firefighter Max Hewitt. Max recently completed a sports science degree at Loughborough University, during which time fulfilled his dream of swimming for Team GB, along with other highlights, competing in Olympic and World Trials. Max has now been posted to Southsea Blue Watch. Firefighter Gareth Hitchcoe. Before joining Hampshire Fire and Rescue earlier this year, Firefighter Hitchcoe had a career working as a whole-time firefighter for 9 years on Red Watch at St Mary's. After a poor decision, his words not mine, to leave the service 2 years ago, he worked as a technician for SCAS before returning to us here and now. Firefighter Hitchcoe has been sent to 56 Hightown Blue Watch. Firefighter Elliot Holt. Elliot graduated from uni in 2014 and worked as a financial contractor for 2 years. He gave that up to find a more rewarding career. 2 months later, he joined Hampshire Fire and Rescue Service. The rest is history. He's now been posted to Rushmore Red Watch. Firefighter Ashley Dukes. Before joining the fire service, Ashley was a commissioned officer for the Royal Navy, also working as a controller in the Force Control Room for Hampshire Constabulary. Ashley's now been posted to Southsea White Watch. Firefighter Jamie Kelly. Jamie was a police officer for 9 years, based in Eastleigh, but also worked around the county, including including Northern Ireland. Before joining Hampshire Fire and Rescue Service, also worked for the Forestry Commission as a recreation ranger and has now been posted to Blue Watch at Southsea. Firefighter Michael Penny. Michael spent 2 summer seasons lifeguarding on the beaches of Dorset, then joined the service working in the schools team in Winchester. Michael has now been posted to Hightown White Watch. Firefighter Kevin Pullen. Kevin had a very successful career in the motor trade as a paint sprayer at Seawood's Garage, Cosham. Before joining the service, he's now been posted to Southsea Green Watch. Firefighter Samuel Ricketts. Before joining HFRS, Sam worked as a teaching assistant at Springwell School for Children with Special Needs for 8 years. He says he joined Hampshire Fire and Rescue to help others that are in need, servicing the community whilst also working together as a team. He's now been posted to Havant Green Watch. Firefighter Stephen Roberts. Before joining the service, Steve served with 3 years as a windsurf instructor and 6 years within the Royal Navy as a mine clearance diver. Very passionate about water sports and has now been posted to Cosham Red Watch. Firefighter Carl Selleck. Following studying a degree in psychology, Carl spent several years working in children's homes. He joined Hampshire Fire to continue helping those in need, albeit in a very different capacity. He's now been posted to Rushmore Blue Watch. Firefighter Richard Stenning. After doing his apprenticeship as an HGV mechanic, Richard took a position working for the Fire Services Fleet Maintenance Centre just across the way there, but he says he always wanted to progress to becoming a firefighter, so after 8 years of trying, he finally had the opportunity. Richard's now been posted to Southsea Blue Watch. Firefighter Tom Ventress. Tom joined the fire service in May 2015 as a retained firefighter at Winchester. Before this, he was working for the local council as a legal officer and trainee lawyer, and Tom has now been posted to Red Watch at Andover. Firefighter Simon Weston. Before joining the service, Simon worked for Knightwood Leisure, as well as being an RDS firefighter at Eastleigh. He's now been posted whole time to Eastleigh on White Watch. And last but by no means least, firefighter Richard Wilson. Richard joined the service in 2011 as a retained firefighter at Petersfield and is now at Horndean. Prior to becoming whole-time, he was a fire behaviour instructor for Babcock's, delivering training to the London Fire Brigade. And Richard has now been posted to White Watch at Cosham. And ladies and gentlemen, please continue your applause for our Chief Officer and the High Sheriff of Hampshire. Thank you. Okay, we now have a very, very special presentation, the Silver Axe Award. I'm not going to tell you about it. I'm going to leave that to the Chairman of our Fire Authority. So if you would please give a round of applause for the Chairman of Hampshire Fire Authority, Mr. Chris Carter.
Thank you very much, Dan. Deputy Lord Lieutenant, High Sheriff, Madam Mayor, distinguished guests. Can you hear me okay? I seem to get some feedback on this. Are you able to hear me? Good, good. Firefighters, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, good to see so many children here today. Just to tell you very quickly about the Fire Authority, we are 10 elected councillors representing the whole of Hampshire. We are a combined authority representing Southampton, Portsmouth, and of course Hampshire. Our role, I think, is what you might term a supervisory role to ensure the effective and efficient service of the fire service across the whole of Hampshire to protect the people of Hampshire. Now, I think you'd all agree with me that we've seen an excellent demonstration this morning just showing what that efficiency is all about. We saw the demonstrations outside there, and then we saw the new recruits all formed out there so efficiently and so smartly. So let's give them all a round of applause. What I should have said, I think there's another round of applause deserved, because I joined the Fire Authority 8 years ago, and I was on one of these parades 8 years back, and I honestly can't remember very much about it. I don't think it was anything like the scale of we've got today. But this sort of event only takes place with excellent organisation. So Ty Whitlock and his team have really worked very hard, all the trainers, to put together this event. So I think we owe them a tremendous round of applause. Thank you, Ty. Now, when I was invited to present the Silver Axe, I thought it was going to be something like you see in the Oscars, where I have this envelope, and I open the envelope, and then I know who it is, and you don't know, and I wait for about 5 minutes before I announce the name. But you all know who it is. It's firefighter Kevin Pullen. And this is a very prestigious award for the top trainee in service parlance. Some of us come from service backgrounds. It equates to the Sword of Honour, very important. But of course, only one person can win that. But that person only wins because it's everybody else taking part. So you are all winners. All of you are winners today. And it's just said that just one person gets the award. But that's the way life goes. Somebody has to receive it. This is, as I've said, a very prestigious award. Historically, firefighters always carried an axe. They don't need to do that now because they've got other means of getting into property. They don't need to smash their way in. But there are axes on the appliances, and if an axe is needed, well, it's there on the vehicle. So this is very much a symbol, and it's a prestigious award, as I've said. So I'd like to invite firefighter Kevin Pullen to come forward to receive this award.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again then please, firefighter Pullin and our own chairman, Mr. Chris Carter. Okay, the next bit is the bit that all the training staff dread, because it's the only opportunity in 16 weeks that the good folk to your left there have their say, or at least one of them does. So I would like to invite the lucky or unlucky candidate, depending on how you look at it, invite firefighter Holt up to the stage if I can, please. Big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Stand's yours, firefighter.
Cheers. Good afternoon, and to those who've been with me for the past 16 weeks, morning! T117 kindly volunteered me to give this speech today. I'm unsure of exactly why, but I'd like to think that it's to my organisational skills and great time management. If you ask the training team, they'll confirm I'm never late, and if you ask T117, they'll tell you I'm never a second early. So take from that what you will. Anyway, I digress, and I've been told by the training team here to keep this speech like firefighter Ricketts. That is short and sweet. Most of us started the course here today with little or no experience of the fire service, except for, of course, firefighter Hitchco, who started his original career in a cork helmet. The last 16 weeks has been intense, and we've had to absorb a lot of information. We've all come a long way with some strong and valuable skills, such as IEC, which will serve us immensely in both our professional careers and potentially in our personal lives. Amongst our programme, we had our bread and butter courses, such as pumps and ladders, which, as you can imagine, involved a lot of up and downs. And with all that pumps, there was also a lot of pressure. That's the last of my dad jokes. Don't have to worry. So I think that of all the modules, BA was by far our favourite. I think everyone else will agree with me on that. The course started with us kneeling on casualties' heads, wedging doors shut from the Chuckle Brothers, and the two of us even managed to run in without any firefighting media. I don't know who that was, but I still mark those actions as heroic. Isn't that right, George? By the end of the course, we were all able to don our BA, take a good look in the mirror, and identify ourselves. Or at least one of us was. In all seriousness, though, throughout the course, the opportunities, the facilities, and the academy training team were second to none. The course was varied, challenging, informative, and thoroughly enjoyable. We must thank all those involved with the academy for delivering the course in the manner that they did, especially it was the first in 8 years. I'm not sure if that's mentioned today or not, but I'll just get it in there quickly again. So on behalf of T117, just a quick applause for the training academy. I must also briefly mention, wherever she is, our course leader, Watch Manager Lacey Plumley. From day one, she supported each and every one of us, step by step of the way. I'm not too sure that many other trainers would message us at any hour of any day with guidance, support and information in the manner that she did. So another quick round of applause for our course leader, Watch Manager Lacey Plumley. And finally, late in the course, a large portion of our trainees gave up their weekend time to run a charity car wash over at Eastley State Fire Station, which probably many of you parked there this morning. In total, we managed to raise £736.75 in support of the Firefighters charity and Watch Manager Angove's Roam to Home cycle in aid of the Cystic Fibrosis Trust. So I'd now like to welcome ACO Bowers on behalf of the Firefighters charity and Watch Manager Williams on behalf of Watch Manager Angove to the stage to receive their cheques. Where are the cheques? On a personal note, I would just like to take this opportunity to wish my colleagues well in their future careers and thank them for putting up with my awful banter for the last 16 weeks. Never have to do it again. Thank you very much. And I'd also like to take this opportunity and this time to present Watch Manager Plumley and the Academy with a small token of our appreciation and celebration. So if Watch Manager Plumley could now please come to the stage to receive this. And finally, just thank you for all your time today and coming down and supporting us. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Thank you very much.
What a brave soul indeed. I'll let him get back to his seat. Once again, big round of applause. Really, really brave thing to do. Firefighter Holt. Okay, we now move on to the community address. So I'd now like to invite the Deputy Lord Lieutenant of Hampshire, Brigadier David Harrison, to the stage, who will give the community address. Ladies and gentlemen, Brigadier David Harrison.
Hi, Sheriff, Madam Mayor, councillors, honoured guests, ladies and gentlemen. As you've heard, I'm a Deputy Lieutenant. Today, I'm representing our Lord Lieutenant, Nigel Atkinson. He has asked me to give you his regrets that he cannot be here with you, but he sends his best wishes to everyone involved in today. I'm sure that I can speak for everyone here when I say that it has been both a pleasure and a real privilege to have shared today with you guys. Those graduating, I hope, will realize the fact that so many guests have attended demonstrates the significance of this ceremony. I'm sure that those graduating would wish me publicly to thank their instructors and all who have been involved in the course for their help and dedication in getting them to this point in their training. And I'm also sure that they would like me publicly to thank their families, partners, and friends for the support that they have given during the course and for the support that they're going to have to give in the months and the years to come. Those of us who are involved and spend our lives in public service know how vital such support is. So I do thank you all on behalf of the graduates and the Chief Fire Officer for all your support. I hope that everyone would understand if I now address the bulk of my remarks towards the most important people here today, namely the graduates. I grew up in the 1950s in Seaford in Sussex. My aunt owned the local cinema, which had a flat roof and overlooked the fire station. Whenever the fire siren sounded, if I was in the vicinity, I would climb onto the roof so I could watch what was going on. And what I would see were men on bicycles rushing from their normal work to man the fire engine. They were, of course, part-time members of what was then known as the fire brigade, and they were going to a fire. I think it's worth you guys knowing that in those days, the population was smaller, there were fewer cars, there were no motorways, there were no high-rises, and there were no terrorist attacks. We lived then in a peaceful country. Today, when I look at some of the subjects that you've been training in, such as road traffic collision, water rescue, high-rise training, incident command, etc., and when we think of some of the appalling events that we have witnessed recently, then one quickly realizes that your title of a professional fire and rescue service has never been more appropriate. I'm fully aware, as we have had demonstrated today,
that major incidents are often approached in a multi-agency way. You often work with the military, the ambulance service, the police, the local authority, to name but a few. But I would suggest to you there can be no one who live in our communities in Hampshire that is unaware of the quite excellent work that the Hampshire Fire and Rescue Service does, or how important your support is in our local communities in the county to those of us who live there. You have now joined that vital service. You have completed your initial training, and as we've all heard, it's the first training, whole-time training, to have been held in Hampshire for 8 years. So you've been privileged to attend that, and you are privileged, let me tell you, to be joining such a fine organisation as the Hampshire Fire and Rescue Service. Having said that, I would guess that the key word in that title is service. And we in the community of Hampshire are privileged to have you looking after our welfare. So let me just conclude by saying thank you for volunteering. Without people like you volunteering to serve, our whole country would simply just not cope. As you move on to the next phase of your training by way of the development program, you should be aware of how grateful we all are to you. You graduate today with our congratulations, our thanks, and our very best wishes for your futures in the Hampshire Fire and Rescue Service. Thank you.
Thank you, Brigadier, for those kind and thoughtful words. Now we move on to the last of the addresses today, and that is by the main man himself, the Learning and Development Manager, Group Manager Ty Whitlock.
Wow. I just can't believe, perhaps like many of the invited guests, the family and friends, how well today has gone. And I think if it's anything to go by, we're setting up our new trainees for a fantastic career in the Fire and Rescue Service. So I think, like me, a real big thank you to everyone has come today, put the effort in, because I have been blown away from what I've seen this morning. So thank you all. I think in terms of thanks, I would personally like to thank the Academy team, the managers, the management team, the trainers, the Academy support staff, who day in, day out, evenings, weekends, work tirelessly to deliver a plethora of courses to ensure that our firefighters, both at stations and our new trainees, are trained. And although a 16-week program, I can assure you this started about 12 months ago in terms of the preparation. So a huge amount has gone into this in terms of the testing, the selection process, the PPE, the personal kit fitting, the program design, and of course the setup today. And it's been through the support of the Academy and through the support of various teams around the organisation. And I know team has been mentioned a number of times today, but please, I would like to assure you that if it wasn't for a number of teams that have supported the Academy over the last few weeks, we wouldn't have been able to produce this today. So my personal thanks to both the Academy team and the support networks that have been put into place. I think it would be quite fitting if we, as in the trainees, give a thanks to the Academy support team, because it has been centred on the trainers, but the management team and the backroom staff and of course the property and facilities team that have put this on today, I think deserve a well rewarded round of applause. So Of course, personally, this is a really, really proud moment for me to lead the Academy in delivering our first trainees course, and I know it's been said a number of times, for 8 years. And I think we only need to look at the front row and the rest of the room in terms of our fire authority members attending, many leaders from different parts of the community. So again, I would personally like to thank you for your attendance today in making this such a significant occasion. And I think it's supported, and in terms of some of the discussions I've had with the trainees, it's blown them away in terms of what's been delivered today. So I would like to thank you, the invited guests, the Fire Authority members, the Mayor, the Deputy Lord Lieutenant, and the High Sheriff. Thank you very much from me. I think as well it's a proud moment for Hampshire Fire and Rescue Service as an organisation to see our new trainees, very soon to be firefighters, graduate today, and the various stands around the room, together with the demonstrations that you've seen, illustrate what goes into the making of a modern-day firefighter. Certainly a lot more than when I was here a few years ago. They will be interacting and supporting our communities in not only their time of need and danger and peril, going into those burning buildings, the rescue type incidents that we attend, but also the safe and well visits now that are a really prominent part of our service. The local community initiatives that they will be required to get involved in. And we can see from the back of the room, the Better Me and the falls prevention programs, and they will all be part of that moving forward. So I think in terms of what you've seen today is a small part of what we do in the community. So I think you'll enjoy those parts as well. Looking over to the trainees, I think one of the great traditions we've got in the fire service is that every uniformed member in this room today has been through an initial trainees course. And so they can relate to your experiences that you've perhaps had throughout the 16-week program. I guess that's been pain in terms of the hot fire training, the live fire application, the frustrations when things have not gone right, the fun at times, the camaraderie, and of course now, I guess, the sheer joy in successfully completing the course and being part of what is a great team here at Hampshire Fire and Rescue Service. I can remember asking them on day one when I met them, probably within the first hour, and I asked each and every one of them around the room why they wanted to join Hampshire Fire and Rescue Service. And without exception, all of them mentioned the desire to be part of our team and to serve the community, which again is a credit to yourselves. So well done. Looking to the families, this trainees course couldn't have taken place and be completed without your support, and I'm sure your loved ones will be the first to acknowledge that. The support of our partners, family members and friends that have come here today to support your graduation is recognition of what it means to them as well. You know, I asked my wife and parents a few days ago what they remember feeling when they were sat where you are now. And certainly one of pride, excitement, relief, and of course a little bit of apprehension. I guess that's perhaps the same for you today. I want to reassure you that they are joining some great watches around the county of Hampshire. And they will be made to feel very, very welcome. They'll be looked after to the best of our ability in the coming weeks, months and years. So rest assured, they are joining a safe, professional organisation. I think it was fair to say that thinking back to my time, just a couple of years ago when I was perhaps sat where they were, my wife was equally feeling a little bit uncomfortable Why, you may ask? Well, this day sort of resonates with me a little because my wife was very heavily pregnant when, and I've invited her here today, very heavily pregnant when I was passing out, as it was then, with our second child. And my first day on the watch, where I joined at St Mary's Blue Watch, was when she gave birth. And she gave birth about 3 o'clock in the morning. And my first shift started at 9 o'clock. So as you can imagine, being a loving husband and a father, I stayed with her all through that night. And without any sleep, turned up at 9 o'clock because I thought that was the right thing to do, and turned up at the door of the fire station, was invited in. And I can remember the sub-officer, as it was at the time, pulling me to the side after we paraded and said, "Listen, son, in this organisation we're pretty professional. Staying out all night, coming in bleary-eyed, okay, not really fit for duty is not what we expect." And it was only then that I decided to tell him that I have been up all night and we've had the birth of our second child. And I've heard family mentioned a couple of times today. And the reason I give you that story is because the way that sub-officer and the crew manager and the watch made me feel at that time, sending me home, subsequently buying us some flowers, really made me feel like I was part of a family. So let's hope some of you experience that as well. Again, I'm a little bit envious of you sat there. Just like the Chief has mentioned, I'm perhaps nearing the end of my career, and you are obviously just starting yours. So believe me, if you have half the fun that I've had in my time in the fire service, you are going to have such a great time. So I am truly, truly envious. I've been fortunate to have sat where you are, and as a part of the training team as well. And now I'm stood here as the Learning and Development Manager, taking on board what has been a fantastic day here at the Academy and closing the ceremony. The opportunities are vast within HFRS, and with that professionalism, a little bit of hard work, the support of your family and friends, and of course colleagues when you get to the station, and that sprinkling of luck, you all have the potential to be the leaders of the future. So please maintain that professional standard that we've tried to install into you in your time here. Work hard, stay focused, and I wish you a great career in the fire service. Well done. Okay, mate.
Nearly there. The last thing that I need to do, very important, is invite our Chief Officer back up to the stage, please. Okay, this bit is actually one of the most traditional and formal parts of the entire graduation ceremony. What will happen now is that the Learning and Development Manager, Group Manager Ty Whitlock, will request formal permission to dismiss the parade. Now, this is the point at which the Chief will make a decision ultimately on whether or not all of these trainees stood here beside me and in front of you, whether or not they have made the grade and they are in fact now deemed as capable to go out to their operational watches. So, without further ado, I'd like to invite Group Manager Ty Whitlock to request that permission from the Chief Officer.
Chief, I respectfully ask your permission for the final time to dismiss our trainees from the Academy.
Permission? Granted.
Thank you. Preparation! Course T1 17. For the final time, to your duties. Fall out!
Ladies and gentlemen, that just gives me one final thing to do, and that is on behalf of the Chief Officer, thank you all for coming today and invite you formally to a buffet that will now be served over the other side. What I'll do is I will get some of the staff and indeed the trainees to come and greet you and take you across there. Before we do that, if anybody would like to take some pictures, either up here or with the Chief Officer, I'm sure he'd be happy to put his beautiful smiley face on. And of course with your own friends and family as well, please by all means do. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that's it from me. Thank you very much.